I'm Megan, 34, a financial advisor from Boston who should have known better. My younger sister Amanda and I were always different. Me saving birthday money, her spending it before sunset. Despite our contrasting personalities, I never imagined she'd destroy my financial life. When she tearfully begged me to co-sign her extravagant wedding loan, something felt wrong. But family obligation won over financial sense, leading to the $60,000 betrayal that nearly ruined me. Before I tell you how my own sister left me with a massive debt and fled the country, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and hit subscribe if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted. Growing up, Amanda was always the hurricane to my calm harbor. 5 years younger than me, she had our parents wrapped around her little finger from day one. Those big blue eyes and perfect golden curls, identical to mine but somehow more effective, could get her out of any trouble. And there was always trouble with Amanda. I remember when she was 7 and I was 12, she broke our mother's favorite vase while dancing around the living room after being explicitly told not to. When Mom came home, Amanda ran to me in tears, begging for help. I ended up saying I'd accidentally knocked it over while vacuuming. It cost me 2 weeks of allowance and a lecture about responsibility, but Amanda's grateful hug made it seem worth it. This became our pattern, Amanda making messes, me cleaning them up. By high school, I had developed a practical approach to life. I worked part-time at the local library, saved for college, and maintained a 4.0 GPA. Meanwhile, Amanda floated through on charm, borrowing money she never repaid and expecting others to solve her problems. Our parents called me the responsible one not as a compliment, but as justification for holding me to higher standards while excusing Amanda's behavior. "Your sister is just free-spirited," Mom would say after Amanda maxed out her first credit card at 18. "Not everyone can be as naturally organized as you." I majored in finance, built a solid career as a financial advisor, and established an emergency fund before even considering luxuries. Amanda bounced between jobs, retail, waitressing, receptionist, never lasting more than a few months before some drama led to her quitting or being fired. Each career change came with a cash flow crisis that inevitably led to my phone ringing. "Megan, I'm only short $800 on rent this month. I'll pay you back when my commission check comes in," was a monthly ritual for a while. The repayments rarely materialized, and when they did, they were partial at best. When Amanda met Ryan 3 years ago, I had just been promoted to senior financial advisor at my firm. She called, unusually excited about a man she'd met at a charity gala she'd attended with a friend. "He's in international business development," she gushed. "He travels all over, Dubai, Singapore, Monaco. And Meg, you should see his car." Ryan Bradford was undeniably charming, tall, impeccably dressed, with a British accent that seemed to fluctuate in intensity depending on who was listening. He took Amanda to expensive restaurants, bought her designer gifts, and within 2 months had whisked her away for weekends in his supposed vacation homes in Miami and Lake Tahoe. What bothered me wasn't his wealth, it was the vagueness around it. When I asked what his company did, the answers were all jargon and no substance. Luxury asset management, private client acquisition, international capital development. Amanda either didn't notice or didn't care that these phrases meant nothing. "Not everyone needs to analyze everything to death, Megan," she snapped when I gently suggested learning more about his business. "Some people just know how to enjoy life." Our parents were enchanted by Ryan. He sent flowers to our mother and rare whiskey to our father. He called them by endearing nicknames and promised to take them on his company's yacht someday. When I expressed concerns during a family dinner, my father actually shushed me. "For once, Amanda has found someone with ambition," he said. "Don't ruin this with your pessimism." So I backed off, watching from a distance as Amanda and Ryan's relationship progressed at lightning speed. They moved into a luxury apartment downtown after just 6 months, a place Amanda definitely couldn't afford on her boutique sales associate salary, and I doubted Ryan could sustain either, despite appearances. The engagement announcement came via a professionally photographed Instagram post, Amanda displaying an enormous diamond ring on a private beach somewhere, Ryan kissing her cheek, champagne flutes in the foreground. The caption read, "I said yes to forever with my prince. Wedding planning starts now. Hashtag future Mrs. Bradford, hashtag dream come true." The phone calls started immediately. Amanda wanted me as her maid of honor, which touched me despite our complicated relationship. Then came daily messages about venue options, florists, photographers, and increasingly extravagant ideas. "Ryan says we should just do what makes us happy and figure out the money later," she told me one evening. Her voice had that familiar tone, the one that preceded a request for help. My phone rang at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. Amanda was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Everything's falling apart, Meg. The wedding planner says we need deposits this week or we'll lose our date. Can we meet for lunch? Please, I need your help." Despite the warning bells clanging in my head, I agreed to meet her at an upscale restaurant downtown. Little did I know I was walking into a carefully orchestrated performance designed to separate me from my financial security. The restaurant Amanda chose for our lunch meeting should have been my first red flag. Costello's was one of Boston's most expensive Italian restaurants, where a plate of pasta easily ran $50. She was already seated at a corner table when I arrived, sipping champagne and looking suspiciously composed for someone who had been sobbing on the phone hours earlier. "Meg, thank you so much for coming." She jumped up to hug me, wafting designer perfume. "I ordered you a glass of champagne too." "It's a workday, Amanda," I said, but sat down anyway. "What's this emergency about your wedding deposits?" Instead of answering, she pulled out an iPad and launched into a presentation. Actual slides with photos, budgets, and timelines appeared as she swiped through her wedding vision. The venue was a private beach resort in Bali. The guest list included 100 people who would all be flown in and accommodated for a week-long celebration. There would be welcome bags with locally sourced gifts, a rehearsal dinner on a chartered yacht, and a farewell brunch with elephant rides. "The total is just under $60,000, she concluded, as if announcing she needed to borrow $20. "But it's an investment in our future. Ryan says starting our marriage in such a magical place will set the tone for our entire lives together." I nearly choked on my water. $60,000? Amanda, that's insane. Most people don't spend that on a down payment for a house. Her smile faltered slightly. "Ryan and I want to do this right. We only plan to get married once. Where is this money coming from?" "I thought you needed help with deposits." Here came the performance. Amanda's eyes welled up perfectly, enough for vulnerability, not enough to smudge her mascara. "That's what I needed to talk to you about. Ryan's investments are all tied up right now, something about a holding period before a major return. And my credit isn't great because of some mistakes in college." She reached across the table to grab my hand. "We need a loan, and the bank will approve it if you co-sign. Just until Ryan's investments mature in a few months." "You want me to co-sign a $60,000 loan for your destination wedding?" I pulled my hand away. "Amanda, that's completely irresponsible. What about a nice local venue? Or waiting until you've saved? This isn't just any wedding." Her voice rose, drawing glances from nearby tables. "This is my one chance to have everything perfect. Ryan's business associates will be there, people who could make or break his career. We can't look cheap." "It's not about looking cheap. It's about living within your means." The tears flowed freely now. "You've always had everything together. Your perfect job, your perfect apartment, your perfect credit score. You have no idea what it's like to want something so badly and have everyone tell you you can't have it. That's not fair. What's not fair is having a sister who could help but chooses not to." She was fully crying now. "You know what Mom said when I told her about our lunch?" She said, Don't get your hopes up. Megan always thinks she knows best. She was right. A familiar guilt crept over me, the same feeling I'd had when taking blame for the broken vase 22 years earlier. Before I could respond, Amanda's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and passed it to me. "It's Dad," she sniffled. I took the phone reluctantly. "Hello." "Megan," my father's disappointed voice came through. "Your mother just called me in tears about how you're refusing to help your sister on the most important day of her life. Dad, she's asking me to co-sign a massive loan for an extravagant wedding in Bali. It's financially irresponsible." "It's her wedding day," he replied, as if that justified any expense. "When did you become so cold?" "Family supports family, Megan. Your sister would do it for you in a heartbeat." We both knew that wasn't true, but arguing was pointless. After 10 minutes of guilt-tripping, I promised to think about options, just to end the call. Amanda's tears dried instantly. "So you'll do it?" Her hopeful smile made me feel simultaneously manipulated and needed. "I didn't say that. I said I'd look into options." "This is a huge liability, Amanda. If you and Ryan can't pay, I'm on the hook for all of it." "We'll pay. Ryan's investments are rock solid. He showed me the projections. We're talking 6-figure returns by year-end." She pulled out her phone to show me a slick-looking chart with impressive upward trajectories. Having advised actual investors, I recognized the chart as meaninglessly generic. "What exactly is he investing in?" "Some technology thing in Singapore. I don't understand all the details, but the important thing is that we'll have the money to repay everything with interest." She leaned forward. "I'll even put it in writing. Whatever makes you comfortable." The waiter arrived with our entrees. I realized Amanda had ordered for both of us, including a $75 truffle pasta I hadn't asked for. "Just say yes," she pleaded. "I promise you won't regret it. You'll be the hero of my perfect day." I sighed, feeling the weight of family expectation crushing my financial common sense. "I'm not saying yes. I'm saying I'll investigate legitimate options that protect both of us." Amanda squealed and clapped as if I'd fully committed. "I knew you'd come through. You're the best sister ever." As she babbled excitedly about flower arrangements and bridesmaids' dresses, I pushed my overpriced pasta around my plate, already calculating how to minimize the damage from what I feared would be a catastrophic mistake. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every financial alarm bell in my professional arsenal was ringing at maximum volume. I'd spent my career advising people specifically against this type of financial entanglement. Yet here I was, contemplating the very mistake I warned clients about daily. By morning, I'd made a decision. If, and it was still a big if, I were to help Amanda, I would treat this like the high-risk transaction it was. No family discount on due diligence. No relaxed terms because of blood relation. I called Jessica Chin, a law school friend who specialized in contract law. We met for coffee that afternoon. "Let me get this straight," Jessica said after I explained the situation. "Your unemployed sister and her vaguely employed fiancé want you to co-sign a $60,000 loan for a destination wedding in Bali?" "She's not unemployed. She works at that boutique on Newberry Street." Jessica gave me a look. "Part-time retail doesn't support luxury weddings, Megan. You know this." "I know," I sighed. "But she's my sister, and my parents are pressuring me. If I say no, I'm the villain who ruined Amanda's dream wedding. And if you say yes without protection, you're the sucker paying off a massive loan while they post beach photos on Instagram," Jessica countered. "Look, if you're determined to do this, let's minimize your risk." For the next 3 hours, we drafted what Jessica called a family loan agreement with teeth. It included a formal acknowledgement that Amanda and Ryan were the primary borrowers, with me as the guarantor only, a repayment schedule with specific due dates, a requirement for collateral to secure the loan, triggers that would convert the loan to different terms if they defaulted, a clause requiring Amanda and Ryan to carry life and disability insurance, naming me as beneficiary for the loan amount, legal jurisdiction in Massachusetts, where we were, rather than in their state. A requirement for financial transparency, including quarterly statements of their income and assets. Most importantly, Jessica said, highlighting a section, we're adding this clause about collateral. What does your sister own that's valuable? I thought for a moment. She inherited our grandmother's jewelry collection. It's worth at least $40,000. Perfect. We'll specify that as collateral, with a provision that ownership transfers to you if they miss more than 3 payments. There was also a key provision buried in the legal language. If they defaulted, I would gain the right to pursue any of their assets, regardless of location or how they were titled. Jessica called it the no hiding money clause. This might seem extreme, Jessica cautioned, but if they're legitimate, they'll have no problem agreeing to these terms. If they balk, you have your answer about their intentions. Armed with the agreement, I requested a meeting at Amanda and Ryan's apartment that weekend. Their place was impeccably decorated with what appeared to be designer furniture, original artwork, and the latest electronics, all warning signs considering their purported temporary cash flow issues. Ryan answered the door in casual clothes that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. The financial guru arrives, he announced with his fluctuating British accent. Amanda's just finishing a call with the wedding planner. Champagne? No thanks. I'd like to keep a clear head for this discussion. His smile faltered slightly. All business, aren't you? Amanda said you were the serious one. Amanda emerged from the bedroom, phone in hand. The florist found peonies that can be flown in from New Zealand. Oh, Megan, you brought paperwork. She eyed the folder in my hand with visible disappointment. Yes, I've drafted an agreement for the loan. Ryan laughed. An agreement? Between family? Seems rather formal, doesn't it? It's exactly because we're family that we need clear terms, I replied. I've seen too many relationships destroyed by financial misunderstandings. I laid out the contract, explaining each provision. Amanda's eyes glazed over almost immediately, but Ryan studied it with increasing discomfort. Life insurance? Collateral? Quarterly financial statements. He scoffed. This reads like you don't trust us. It reads like a standard loan agreement, I corrected. Anyone borrowing this amount of money would sign similar terms with a bank. Amanda pouted. But you're not a bank. You're my sister. Which is why I want our relationship protected. This ensures we all understand our obligations. Ryan flipped through the pages, frowning at the collateral section. Amanda's jewelry? That's a family heirloom, which remains hers as long as you make the payments, I pointed out. The collateral is just insurance. They exchanged glances. Amanda looked ready to throw a tantrum, but Ryan suddenly shifted tactics. You know what? I respect this, he said, his tone smoothing. It shows you're as serious about business as I am. We have nothing to hide, and we fully intend to repay every penny. He took the pen from my hand and signed with a flourish, then passed it to Amanda. Sign it, darling. Your sister is just being prudent. Amanda signed reluctantly, barely glancing at the pages. I noticed Ryan hadn't actually read the fine print either, particularly the sections about jurisdiction and the right to pursue hidden assets. Their overconfidence worked in my favor. I'll have these notarized and file the loan application tomorrow, I said, tucking the signed agreement into my folder. Assuming approval, you should have the funds within 2 weeks. As I left their apartment, relief and dread battled within me. I'd done everything possible to protect myself, but a nagging voice whispered that I'd just signed up for a world of trouble. That night, I made copies of the agreement, stored the original in my safe deposit box, and tried to silence the worry keeping me awake. 2 weeks later, the loan was approved. I watched the $60,000 transfer into Amanda's account with a knot in my stomach. She immediately sent me a photo of her and Ryan toasting with champagne, captioned, "Wedding planning officially in full swing. Love you, sis." I forced myself to respond positively, even as I added a calendar reminder for the first repayment date, 3 months after the wedding. What I didn't know then was that I should have been counting down to a betrayal rather than a repayment. The Bali wedding was every bit as extravagant as Amanda had planned. The resort was stunning. Private villas for guests, infinity pools overlooking the Indian Ocean, staff who remembered everyone's names and drink preferences. Under different circumstances, I might have enjoyed the luxury. Instead, I found myself mentally calculating the cost of each centerpiece, each bottle of champagne, each custom-made favor. As maid of honor, I stood beside Amanda in photos, smiling while thinking of the loan documents locked in my safe deposit box back home. The ceremony took place at sunset on the beach, Amanda radiant in a designer gown that definitely hadn't been included in the original budget we'd discussed. Ryan looked the part of successful businessman, charming everyone with stories of his international deals and future plans. I noticed, however, that whenever someone asked specific questions about his business, he'd deftly change the subject or pull them toward the bar for another drink. During the reception, I stepped away to use the restroom and overheard Ryan speaking with a man I didn't recognize in a secluded corner of the garden. "Everything's in place," the man said quietly. "The Cayman account is set up under the Shell company name." "Perfect timing," Ryan replied. "We'll move everything offshore after the honeymoon. No point raising flags with unusual activity right before the wedding." "What about her sister?" "I heard she's some financial advisor." Ryan laughed. "Megan? She thinks she's clever with her little contract, but she has no idea what's coming. By the time she figures it out, we'll be long gone." I froze, heart pounding. Before I could process what I'd heard, they noticed me and immediately shifted to loud, casual conversation about golf courses. I returned to the reception, trying to act normal while my mind raced. Should I confront them now? Call the police? But what crime had actually been committed? They'd signed a loan agreement and hadn't yet missed any payments. I considered pulling Amanda aside, but realized with a sinking feeling that she was likely complicit. The way she'd avoided eye contact when signing the agreement, her sudden lavish spending beyond even the wedding budget, she knew exactly what was happening. For the remaining 3 days of the wedding celebration, I maintained my maid of honor smile while documenting everything. I took photos of their gifts, kept a list of vendors and amounts, and noted every comment about future plans. If my suspicions were correct, I'd need all the evidence I could gather. The first month after the wedding, Amanda and Ryan posted daily photos from their extended honeymoon, first Bali, then Singapore, then the Maldives. Each location seemed more luxurious than the last. When I texted to check when they'd be home, Amanda replied vaguely about extending their trip while Ryan meets with investors. The first loan payment came due. Nothing arrived in my account. When I called Amanda, she answered with obvious irritation. "Oh, we're just sorting out some banking issues with the time zone differences. You know how it is. The money will be there next week." Next week came and went. No payment. My follow-up texts received increasingly delayed and dismissive responses. By the second missed payment, panic set in. I called my parents, who seemed unconcerned. "They're just settling into married life," my mother said. "I'm sure they'll sort it out soon. Don't be so rigid about the dates." The third month brought a complete communication breakdown. Amanda stopped answering my calls entirely. Her social media still showed regular posts, rooftop bars in unknown cities, shopping bags from luxury brands, sunset cocktails, but no responses to my increasingly urgent messages. I decided to visit their apartment, only to find new tenants moving in. The building manager informed me that Amanda and Ryan had terminated their lease the week after the wedding. That evening, I received a text from an unknown international number. "Should have trusted your financial instincts, sis. Thanks for the wedding. Consider it your gift to us. Face-blowing kiss, don't bother looking for us. We've relocated somewhere without extradition. Enjoy the payments. Love, A+R." Minutes later, Amanda posted a photo on Instagram, she and Ryan laughing on a private jet, champagne flutes in hand. The caption read, starting our new life where no one can rain on our parade. Sometimes you have to leave the past and all its troubles behind. Hashtag new beginnings, hashtag no looking back. The bank called the next day. The loan was officially in default, and as co-signer, I was now responsible for the full amount plus accumulating interest. $60,000 of debt for a sister who had planned her escape all along. As I stared at the formal notice from the bank, the magnitude of Amanda's betrayal crashed over me. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a temporary inability to pay. This was calculated fraud from the beginning, with me as the designated victim. The first collection notice arrived on crisp bank letterhead, clinical and devastating. As cosigner on loan number 847291, you are responsible for the outstanding balance of $60,000 plus accrued interest of $1,248.32. Immediate payment is required to prevent further action. I called the bank, explained the situation, and was met with professional sympathy that offered no actual relief. I understand your frustration, Ms. Harper, but legally you're responsible for this debt. Perhaps you could provide contact information for the primary borrowers. Each morning, I woke with a weight on my chest that made it difficult to breathe. My perfect credit score, built over years of careful financial management, plummeted. The debt appeared on my credit report like a neon sign warning lenders away from me. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. Night after night, I lay awake calculating and recalculating my finances, trying to find a way to absorb this blow without liquidating my retirement accounts, a move that would trigger penalties and taxes, compounding the damage. My parents' reaction only deepened the wound. When I called to tell them about Amanda's text and disappearance, my father actually chuckled. That sounds like Amanda being dramatic. She's probably just traveling with Ryan for his business. I'm sure they'll sort out the payments when they settle somewhere. Dad, they terminated their lease. They told me they've gone somewhere without extradition. They're running from this debt intentionally. My mother sighed. Megan, you've always been so black and white about things. Amanda has a different approach to life. Give her time to figure this out. Their denial was staggering. Decades of enabling Amanda had left them incapable of seeing her actions clearly, even when the evidence was overwhelming. I realized with bitter clarity that I was entirely alone in this crisis. At work, my performance suffered. How could I advise clients on financial security when I'd failed so spectacularly to protect my own? In client meetings, I found myself struggling to focus, my mind constantly returning to calculations of how many years it would take to pay off Amanda's debt. My boss, Patricia, called me into her office after I fumbled through a presentation with a major client. Megan, is everything all right? This isn't like you. I considered a vague excuse, but opted for honesty. I'm dealing with a personal financial crisis. My sister and her husband convinced me to co-sign a large loan, then left the country without paying. Patricia's expression shifted from concern to shock. How much are we talking about? $60,000. Her sharp intake of breath said everything. Have you consulted a lawyer? I've spoken with 3. They all say the same thing. As co-signer, I'm legally responsible. My sister and her husband chose their destination specifically because it has no extradition treaty with the U.S. Take tomorrow off, Patricia said finally. Get your head straight. This firm needs the Megan Harper who impresses clients, not this distracted version. Her words stung but weren't unfair. I was failing professionally just as I had failed personally. The lowest point came when I had to cancel my vacation plans, a trip I'd been saving for over 2 years, to redirect those funds toward the loan payments. Sitting alone in my apartment, cancellation confirmations filling my inbox, I allowed myself one evening of complete breakdown. I cried until my eyes swelled, screamed into pillows, and cursed Amanda's name. By morning, exhausted but clearer, I made 3 decisions. First, I would not let this destroy my career. Second, I would find a way to make Amanda and Ryan face consequences. Third, I would never, ever allow family manipulation to override my financial judgment again. I scheduled meetings with 5 different lawyers specializing in international debt collection. Gave me virtually identical advice: pay the debt, learn the lesson, move on. The 5th, Eleanor Bates, asked a question none of the others had. Did you include any special provisions in your agreement with your sister? I provided her with a copy of the contract Jessica had helped me draft. As Eleanor read through it, her expression gradually shifted from professional neutrality to surprised approval. This is unusually thorough for a family loan, she remarked. Particularly these clauses about collateral, jurisdiction, and the right to pursue hidden assets regardless of location. My friend is a contract lawyer. She helped me draft it. Eleanor set down the document and looked at me directly. MS. Harper, your sister and her husband may have chosen a non-extradition country, but they've made a critical error. According to your agreement, Massachusetts law governs this contract, and the collateral clause is immediately enforceable upon default. The jewelry collection, I said, remembering. It's at my parents' house. That's just the beginning, Eleanor continued. This contract gives you the right to pursue any assets they own, anywhere. The challenge will be finding those assets, but I have colleagues who specialize in exactly that. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. That hope transformed into determination when I logged into Instagram that evening and saw Amanda's latest post, a sunset view from what appeared to be a penthouse apartment in Dubai, her hand sporting a new diamond bracelet alongside her enormous engagement ring. The caption read, "Home sweet new home. #bless life, #living our best life." Dubai. They'd chosen Dubai. I immediately returned to my computer and began researching. Dubai had no extradition treaty with the US for financial crimes, but it had robust property and banking systems that left paper trails. More importantly, it had legal cooperation agreements with many countries, including the US, for civil matters like debt collection. I called Eleanor first thing the next morning. They're in Dubai. I can prove it from their social media. Dubai, she repeated thoughtfully. That actually works in our favor. I know exactly who to contact. As Eleanor outlined our counterattack strategy, I felt a strange calm settle over me. Amanda and Ryan had significantly underestimated what they were up against. They thought they were dealing with a heartbroken sister who would simply accept her fate. Instead, they were about to face a financial professional with a meticulously crafted contract and a determination forged in betrayal. Eleanor wasted no time assembling what she called our recovery team. Within days, she had engaged a digital forensic specialist, an international collection agency with specific expertise in Dubai, and a private investigator who specialized in asset tracking. The first step, Eleanor explained during our strategy meeting, is securing the assets we know about, starting with that jewelry collection. I dreaded confronting my parents, but knew it was necessary. I arrived at their suburban home on a Sunday afternoon, Eleanor's legal documents in hand. My mother's surprise at seeing me quickly turned to suspicion when she noticed my serious expression. "What's wrong, Megan? You look terrible." "I need to talk to you and Dad about Amanda. It's important." My father emerged from his study, greeting me with a distracted half-hug before settling into his favorite armchair. "If this is about that loan business, Amanda called yesterday. Said there's been a misunderstanding and she's working it out." My heart jumped. "She called you? Did she give you her number?" No. It was a quick call." He waved dismissively. "She said not to worry, that she and Ryan have investments maturing soon." I placed the default notices from the bank on the coffee table. There's no misunderstanding. Amanda and Ryan have fled to Dubai and explicitly told me they never intend to repay this loan. They've left me with $60,000 of debt, and it's growing with interest every day. My mother shook her head. "That doesn't sound like Amanda." "I have the text messages, Mom, and their social media is full of pictures from Dubai, bragging about their new life." My father leaned forward, finally looking concerned. What do you need from us? Grandmother's jewelry collection. The loan agreement Amanda signed lists it as collateral. I'm legally entitled to take possession of it now. The atmosphere in the room chilled instantly. My mother's hand flew to her throat. That jewelry is Amanda's inheritance. We're holding it for her until they buy a proper safe for their new place. Amanda used that inheritance as loan security, then defaulted on the loan, I said firmly. I have the legal right to claim it, and I have a court order to do so. I placed the document on top of the default notices. My father picked it up, scanning it with growing alarm. This is serious, Claire, he said to my mother. This is a legal seizure order. My mother began to cry. But those pieces have been in our family for generations. Your grandmother wanted Amanda to have them for her future children. And Amanda gambled them away, I replied, fighting to keep my voice steady. She signed them over as collateral for a loan she never intended to repay. I didn't want this either, but I'm the one left paying for her wedding while she posts pictures of her luxury apartment in Dubai. After 2 hours of emotional discussion, my parents reluctantly led me to their bedroom safe. Inside, wrapped in velvet pouches, was my grandmother's collection. An Art Deco diamond necklace, sapphire earrings, several brooches, and an heirloom watch. My mother sobbed as she handed each piece to me. I'll provide a detailed receipt, I said, trying to maintain professional distance despite my own emotions. These will be kept secure until the debt is resolved. As I prepared to leave, my father stopped me at the door. Can we see those messages? The ones where Amanda said she's not paying. I pulled up the text on my phone and handed it to him. He read it silently, then showed it to my mother. Something shifted in their expressions, the first crack in their unwavering defense of Amanda. We raised her better than this, my father said quietly, looking suddenly older. The jewelry appraisal confirmed what I'd estimated. The collection was worth approximately $40,000. A significant portion of the debt, but not all of it. For the remainder, we would need to find other assets. Our digital forensics specialist, Marcus, worked magic with Amanda and Ryan's social media presence. They're not just posting pretty pictures, he explained, showing me his findings. They're inadvertently documenting their assets and movements. From their Instagram posts alone, Marcus identified their specific location in Dubai, a luxury high-rise in the Marina district. Ryan's new vehicle, a high-end sports car visible in several backgrounds. Multiple luxury purchases, tagged designer items. Travel patterns suggesting regular business in Abu Dhabi. More importantly, he found connections to Ryan's business ventures. Your brother-in-law isn't as clever as he thinks. He's registered several companies in Dubai's free zones. They're thinly disguised versions of the same shell companies he mentioned in that conversation you overheard at the wedding. Eleanor used this information to file legal claims in both U.S. and UAE courts. The Massachusetts judgment was relatively straightforward, based on the clear contract terms. The international enforcement required specialized knowledge, which is where Nasir, our Dubai-based collection specialist, proved invaluable. UAE courts respect foreign judgments when proper procedures are followed, Nasir explained in our video conference. The key is demonstrating the legitimate basis of the claim and following UAE legal protocols precisely. While these legal wheels turned, my private investigator uncovered something unexpected. Ryan had a pattern of similar schemes. 2 previous girlfriends had filed complaints about financial fraud, though both cases had been settled quietly. More significantly, he had business associates in Miami who were currently under investigation for wire fraud. Your brother-in-law isn't just running from your loan, the investigator told me. He's likely running from several potential criminal charges. This discovery led us to collaborate with other victims. Through carefully worded inquiries in financial fraud support forums, we connected with 3 other individuals who had been defrauded by Ryan under various business pretexts. Pooling our information strengthened everyone's cases. For months into our counterattack, the first real victory came. A UAE court froze a Dubai bank account belonging to one of Ryan's shell companies. The balance, $78,000. That same day, I received a furious message from Amanda. "What the hell are you doing? Someone just showed up at our apartment with court papers. How did you even find us?" I waited a full day before responding. "I'm collecting on a legally binding debt, Amanda. The loan you signed for and promised to repay. This is insane. You're ruining our lives over a stupid loan? We're family." "Yes, we are family. Which is why your betrayal hurts so much more. The bank doesn't care about our relationship. They just want their money. So do I. We don't have this kind of money just sitting around. Ryan's investments are all tied up right now. Then I suggest you start liquidating assets. The jewelry collection has already been claimed, but that only covers part of the debt." Her next message revealed her panic. "The jewelry. You took grandmother's jewelry? Mom and Dad let you. They didn't have a choice. It was legal collateral that you offered in a contract you signed." The messages stopped abruptly. Hours later, my mother called, distraught. "Amanda says you're sending people after them in Dubai. That you've frozen their money and they can't pay their rent. I'm legally pursuing assets that belong to me based on a contract Amanda willingly signed," I explained calmly. "If they're struggling financially, they have plenty of luxury items they can sell. But they have to live somewhere, Megan. They should have thought of that before committing fraud, Mom." Our next move targeted their Dubai apartment. We discovered it was leased under one of Ryan's company names, the same company whose bank account we'd frozen. With Nasir's help, we filed to redirect the lease payments to partially satisfy the debt. Amanda's social media presence changed dramatically. The luxury lifestyle posts disappeared, replaced by vague inspirational quotes about weathering storms and facing unexpected challenges. One particularly telling post showed her designer handbag collection with the caption, "Parting with some treasures. DM for prices. Hashtag fresh start, hashtag unexpected changes." The real breakthrough came when Ryan's business partner, alarmed by the mounting legal pressure, reached out to save himself. He provided documentation of hidden accounts in Singapore and the Cayman Islands, accounts holding substantial sums from what appeared to be various fraudulent schemes. "Your brother-in-law has been running investment scams for years," Eleanor told me after reviewing the evidence. "What he did to you is just one small part of a much larger operation." With this new information, we expanded our legal claims and involved regulatory authorities. Singapore's strict banking regulations worked in our favor, allowing for accounts to be frozen pending investigation. 9 months after beginning our counterattack, I received a formal settlement offer from Amanda and Ryan's newly hired attorney. They would pay the full loan amount plus interest and my legal fees in exchange for dropping all claims and investigations. "They're running scared," Eleanor observed. "They know if the fraud investigations continue, Ryan could face criminal charges." "Should I accept?" I asked. "That depends on what you want, Megan. If it's just the money, this offer covers everything you're owed. If it's justice." I thought about the sleepless nights, the damaged credit score, the professional embarrassment, the family turmoil. The money will do. But I want it all up front, no payment plans. And I want a formal admission of what they did. The final settlement arrived 2 weeks later, a wire transfer for the full amount plus legal fees, and a signed statement acknowledging the intentional default. Amanda and Ryan admitted no criminal wrongdoing, but confirmed they had knowingly relocated to avoid loan repayment obligations. My final communication from Amanda came via email rather than social media. "I hope you're satisfied. You've destroyed the life we were building. Ryan and I have separated. His business associates have all abandoned him since your investigators started poking around. I'm coming back to the States next month. I don't expect you to meet me at the airport." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Receiving the settlement funds brought a complex mix of emotions. The relief of financial recovery was undeniable. My credit score would recover, and my savings remained intact. Yet the victory felt hollow when weighed against the complete destruction of my relationship with Amanda. The first thing I did was repay the bank loan in full. Watching the balance drop to zero provided a satisfaction that was both sweet and bitter. Next came reimbursements to my legal team, whose expertise had made recovery possible. The remaining sum, roughly $15,000, I placed in a separate account, uncertain what to do with money that felt tainted by betrayal. 3 weeks after the settlement, my parents called to ask if I would join them for dinner. I agreed with reluctance, unsure what to expect. When I arrived at their home, the atmosphere was markedly different from our last encounter. My father looked tired, my mother subdued. "We owe you an apology," my father began once we were seated. "We've spent Amanda's entire life making excuses for her behavior. We failed both of you by not holding her accountable." My mother reached across the table for my hand. "When Amanda called us last week, she tried to blame you for everything, said you were vengeful and cruel. But we've had months to think about what happened. You showed us the text messages, the social media posts. She planned this, didn't she?" "Yes," I said simply. "She and Ryan never intended to repay the loan. They saw me as an easy target because I've always cleaned up her messes." My father nodded slowly. "We enabled that pattern." "I'm sorry, Megan." This long overdue acknowledgement unlocked something within me. For the first time, I shared the full weight of what being the responsible one had meant, how I'd spent my life in Amanda's shadow, expected to succeed without praise while simultaneously serving as her safety net. "I never wanted to see Amanda fail," I explained. "I just wanted her to take responsibility for her own choices." "She's coming home next month," my mother said carefully. "Ryan apparently left Dubai after their separation. She says she has nowhere else to go." The unspoken question hung between us. Would I be part of Amanda's inevitable redemption attempt? "I need time," I said finally. "I'm not ready to forgive her yet." They accepted this without argument, another first in our family dynamic. At work, my professional reputation not only recovered but strengthened. Patricia called me into her office 6 months after the settlement. "The Wilsons specifically requested you as their advisor," she said, referring to a high-net-worth client family. "They said after hearing how you handled your own financial crisis, they trust your judgment implicitly." I was momentarily confused. How did they hear about my situation? From me, Patricia admitted. During a discussion about advisor resilience. "I hope you don't mind, but your story demonstrates something important. Financial advisors who've faced and overcome their own challenges bring valuable perspective." This conversation sparked an unexpected opportunity. Over lunch, Patricia suggested I develop a seminar series on family financial entanglements. There's a real need for guidance on navigating loans to family members, co-signing agreements, joint ventures with relatives. Your experience gives you credibility most advisors lack. The idea resonated deeply. Within weeks, I had outlined a comprehensive program, Family Finance, protecting relationships and assets when money and blood mix. The firm approved it as a special offering for existing clients, then expanded it due to overwhelming interest. Leading these seminars introduced me to dozens of people with similar stories, parents who had co-signed loans for children who never repaid, siblings left handling family business debts, grandparents whose retirement savings were decimated by family borrowing. Their experiences validated mine while providing a purpose for the pain I'd endured. Through a seminar attendee, I connected with a support group for victims of financial betrayal. Initially reluctant to attend, my professional persona felt at odds with the vulnerability of a support group. I finally went to a meeting 6 months after the settlement. The connections I formed there became instrumental in my healing process. Unlike my colleagues who respected my experience but couldn't truly understand it, these people knew exactly how financial betrayal corrodes trust and identity. Gina, a retired teacher whose son had stolen her life savings, became a close friend. The money is bad enough, she told me during one of our coffee meetings. But the betrayal by someone you love, that's what keeps you awake at night. I nodded, recognizing the precise ache she described. How did you move forward? By accepting that forgiveness and reconciliation are separate things, she said thoughtfully. I've forgiven my son for my own peace. But I haven't allowed him back into my financial life, and I never will. Her wisdom guided me when Amanda finally returned to Boston. True to her word, she contacted our parents first, moving temporarily into their guest room. After 2 weeks of what my mother described as soul-searching conversations, Amanda asked if I would meet her. We agreed on neutral territory, a quiet cafe midway between our locations. Seeing her was jarring. The designer clothes and perfect makeup were gone, replaced by a simpler, subdued appearance. She looked simultaneously older and younger, like a version of the sister I'd known before Ryan. Thank you for coming, she began, voice small. I know you probably hate me. I don't hate you, Amanda. I don't recognize you. She nodded, eyes downcast. I barely recognize myself. Everything happened so fast with Ryan. He made it all seem exciting and glamorous, breaking rules, taking shortcuts. By the time I realized how deep we were in his schemes, it felt too late to back out. It's never too late to do the right thing, I said. You could have come to me before it all collapsed. I was ashamed. And afraid you'd say, I told you so. I probably would have, I admitted. Before offering to help you anyway. That was our pattern. She looked up, tears forming. I've destroyed that pattern, haven't I? Along with your trust. Yes. Can we ever fix this? She asked. I considered the question carefully, thinking of Gina's distinction between forgiveness and reconciliation. I'm working on forgiveness, Amanda. Reconciliation will take longer and depends on your actions, not your words. We talked for nearly 3 hours. She shared the ugly dissolution of her relationship with Ryan, who had apparently moved on to a new mark in Singapore. I shared how her betrayal had affected my life, personally and professionally. We cried, occasionally laughed at the absurdity of it all, and parted with cautious warmth but no false promises. In the years since that conversation, Amanda has been working to rebuild her life on firmer foundations. She found a job in retail management, moved into a modest apartment, and began therapy. We meet monthly for coffee, carefully rebuilding a relationship fundamentally different from our previous dynamic. The settlement money that I'd set aside eventually found its purpose. I established a small foundation providing financial literacy education for young adults, focusing particularly on setting healthy monetary boundaries in personal relationships. The irony isn't lost on me. My sister's betrayal ultimately funded an initiative to prevent similar situations for others. My own boundaries have transformed completely. I no longer automatically rush to solve family problems. When my father recently hinted about retirement concerns, I provided information on financial advisors specializing in retirement planning rather than taking on the burden myself. Perhaps the most profound change has been internal. The experience forced me to examine why I had allowed myself to be manipulated despite all my professional knowledge. Through therapy, I recognized how deeply I'd tied my identity to being the responsible one, how that role had become both a prison and a source of superiority. Today, I'm still responsible with my finances, but that trait no longer defines me entirely. I've developed new friendships, taken up photography, even started dating again after years of focusing solely on career advancement. The loan betrayal nearly broke me financially and emotionally. Yet, through the recovery process, I discovered strengths I never knew I possessed and built a life more authentic than the one I had before. I learned that family love without boundaries isn't really love at all. It's obligation masquerading as affection. If you're facing pressure to compromise your financial well-being for family, remember that true love doesn't require financial self-destruction. What boundaries have you had to set with family to protect yourself? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. Remember, protecting your financial health isn't selfish, it's essential self-care. Thank you for listening to my story.